Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Spann Report podcast, and I'm your host, Mr. Spann, and this is episode number 59 of the report. And this episode has a very special guest, man. I got my homie, the big bro, Mr. Gates of the Haterazzi Radio Show joining me here. Say what's up to the people, fam.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Thanks for having me, brother.
No doubt, man. It's been billed as a me versus you type of deal. And part of that is because views as to how it goes with, say, for instance, Bill Cosby and our views towards what's going on in Ferguson and whatnot. And we've had this discussion amongst ourselves a couple times, right, over the phone.
Absolutely.
Yeah, just chopping it up over the phone or whatever. And what we aim to do here, man, really is just to kind of have this discussion in a civil way and show that the shit is actually possible.
Yeah, I mean, this is something that we talk about. Like, we'll spend an hour or sometimes more on the phone debating, and at the end of it, we're still going to talk about, tell each other about our kids. We're still going to, talk about other things, and we leave the call feeling good. That's still my boy, and I think it's very important for our young, especially our young black male listeners, to understand that it is possible to debate some very touchy issues and still respect the person you're debating, and just learn to agree to disagree without, fighting, without breaking out into ad hominem attacks, So that's what it's all about.
Yes, indeed, man. And of course, before we get into all that, before we get into the showdown, so to speak, let me tell everybody how they can get in touch with me here at the Spann Report podcast and let your voice be heard, man. Of course, you can hit me up on the hotline at area code 313-288-0485. That's area code 313-288-0485. Hit me up on that voicemail line. I'll listen to those on the show, and then I'll reply to those on the show. I just got my mixer today. So yeah, I'm gonna bring back I can do the shit live now. So we're gonna do that from here on out. And of course, you can hit me up at the new email address for the show. It's feedback@thespannreport.com. That's feedback@thespannreport.com. Send me those emails, and of course I'll read those and reply to those here on the show. You can also hit me up on Twitter and Instagram. My name on both of those platforms, of course, is Mr._Spann, same as it is everywhere. And last but not least, you can also go to the website, go to thespannreport.com. It has all of your Spann Report needs as far as podcasts, my guest appearances, all of the videos to these future episodes and past episodes, and just everything Spann TV related. Everything is right there for you at thespannreport.com, man. And Hater, go ahead, tell them how they can get in touch with you, bro.
I'm Haterazzi.com. That's pretty much it. Of course, you can find me on Facebook, Haterazzi. You can find me on Instagram. You can find me on Vine. You can find me on YouTube. Just type in Haterazzi on any of these platforms, and you will come up with me.
Indeed, man.
I can't promise you'll like it, but you will come up with me.
Indeed, man. Now, of course, like we were saying before, man, like this whole thing spawned from a conversation that me and you were having on the phone, man. We were actually sitting up talking. We were chopping it up about the things that have been going on with Bill Cosby and our different views about what's been going on with Bill Cosby. I'm of the belief that Bill Cosby did that shit. Okay. And you don't necessarily think that Bill Cosby did. So tell the people kind of where it is you're going with that and why you feel the way that you do.
Well, it's not as much as that I don't believe. I mean, because I don't know, and I'm not a Cosby stan. Okay, I'm not one of these people that is blinded by his stardom. I just believe in due process. I do not believe that we should convict someone that has not been proven guilty. And I understand that the evidence is damning, even though there is no evidence. Just the fact that the sheer number of complainants is kind of mind-boggling, But until we get some DNA, until we get some video proof, I'm just not willing to jump on the he's guilty train, because we've seen this before. We've seen innocent people be accused of something that they just simply didn't do because of the motives of one or a few people, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's it's not that I don't think he did it, it's just that I'm not going to say that he did until the more evidence is shown.
Okay. Well, you know, here's my thing though. Here's my view on it. Because so many of these cases are years old, and statutes of limitations have prevented these cases from even being permissible in front of a court of law, so to speak. A lot of this is being tried out in the court of public opinion, which is our realm pretty much, where we operate. And so in looking at it in that way, of course, none of us, we aren't lawyers, but we kind of deduce the information, or we process the information, and we come to the conclusions that we come to based on, I guess, our own prejudices, or our own views on how things play out and everything else. I don't think we'll ever get the answer as far as like damning like evidence, so to speak, or like rape kits, or video, or what have you. But I do think that there is something to be said for someone to have this amount of women coming forward to say that you did these things to them. And okay. I'm sorry, go ahead, bro.
No, just let me ask you though.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, why now? Why now? Now I know that there was a complaint in 2004, I believe, 2004, 2005, but the number of women who are coming out now, one has to ask why. Why all of a sudden? How come nobody came out then? There's a number of these ladies who claim that he did something to them, and then they'll say, well, and then I was with him again 2 months later. It's like, wait a minute, hold on. Why were you, if he violated you, why were you with him before, again? I think what we're seeing is a lot of would-be starlets whose star never came in. Her star never shined, and this is a revenge move. Because I can't help but notice that no one from any of his successful ventures has come forth with anything. Surely Malcolm Jamal Warner had to see some woman being carried out of his dressing room. Surely Felicia Rashad had to hear somebody scream. I mean, these people worked with him for years, and if this guy is some kind of serial rapist, then there has to be someone who is close to him that has nothing to gain or lose now by protecting him that would have come forth and say, yeah, man, there was some wild shit. Everybody that has come forth has been a has-been. These are has-been women or actually never been. And I can't ignore that. I can't ignore that. And it sounds to me like money would make all of this go away with a lot of these women. They got Gloria Allred on their side. Give us some money, and this could go away.
Okay, good points. But here's the thing, right? So you say like you kind of question whether or not like someone of who was a part of his successful ventures, like say for instance Malcolm Jamal Warner or Felicia Rashad, maybe seeing something or hearing something or anything else. Now, for someone who's as calculating as a lot of these women are saying that he is, one could deduce that he's smart enough not to do that in a place of work. So take for instance the allegations that Beverly Johnson levied against Bill Cosby, where she said that she was in his home, where she was doing an audition for a small part on the Cosby Show, where he brought her to his home.
Yeah.
Or he'll have a woman in a hotel room, as Janice Dickinson has gone forth to put forth out there that when she had her dealings with Bill Cosby. So it's one of those things, man, where like if I'm gonna be doing some fucked up shit and I don't really want anybody to know about it, I'm gonna be real careful about how I go about doing things.
I understand that.
Yeah.
But okay, well, there was one lady who said that he touched her inappropriately backstage at the Cosby Show or Different World, one of the two. But okay, now for the record, let me say this: do I think that Cosby was intimate with any of these women? Yes, I believe that's more than likely what happened. Do I believe that it, okay, because as you know, when you're dealing in the entertainment industry, you got power. You got a lot of powerful people in there. You got a lot of powerful men, and you got a lot of hopeful starlets. You got a lot of young women who will a lot of them will do what they need to do to get where they need to go. Very ambitious women, okay? And sometimes I think that just because they're willing to do that, they're willing to get on the proverbial casting couch, doesn't mean they're going to get the part. Some of these women just plumb might not be talented, all right? And so they feel left, he say, hey, you know what? How about you come lay? Well, I'll do it in his voice. How about you come over to my place later? Come on over. Let's talk about this role, because a lot of this testimony from these women are saying that, like, I wanted a part on the Cosby Show, or he said I could get on a different world or something, and maybe that's what he really intended to do. But when he sent these girls to the audition, they just weren't good. They weren't good on camera. Maybe they just weren't right for the part. And there's not much he can do after that. They've already given their part of the bargain. He can't give his because the production company or director or whoever doesn't like them for the part. So now these girls have put out, and he has not been able to deliver on his end of the bargain. Now, do I believe that a lot of that goes on in Hollywood, and I think that a lot of these may be that? I do.
Here's the thing, though. Here's the thing with that. At the end of the day, for like his two most successful ventures, which were the Cosby Show and A Different World, Bill Cosby was the executive producer of both shows.
Yes.
At the end of the day, the last word as to who gets what role falls with him. So, whether or not he was able to deliver on it, it wasn't. I don't believe that it was a question as to whether or not Bill Cosby could deliver. It's whether or not Bill Cosby wanted to deliver on said promise to give you a role on the Cosby Show, or give you a role on A Different World, or whatever venture it was that he was involved in, where he didn't have final say. That's the thing with this is, even though we can say that these women may have been aspiring actresses or were aspiring stars, and they went to Bill Cosby to help them with their careers, a lot of women do that. Every woman who has come before, who goes through Hollywood trying to, get a leg up or trying to get a step up, every one of them don't come back with a rape allegation against, the producer or the director or their co, actors or whatever. Every woman doesn't do that. So that's why, it's almost that where there's smoke, there's fires. Like, to have, at this point now, it's 27 women, because another woman just came out the other day with allegations against Bill Cosby, right?
Yeah.
So to have, it's 27 different women are coming to you with allegations that this man either drugged or sexually assaulted them, or drugged them to sexually assault them.
Now,
go ahead. I'm sorry, bro.
I'm a conspiracy theorist.
Indeed, I know this very well.
I have a theory when it comes to this, and it's just a theory. A lot of people will call me crazy as batshit, but I've seen this before. We saw this exact same thing play out with Michael Jackson. Of course, it wasn't 27, but just one accusation of child molestation is enough to just end your whole shit, whatever it is you're trying to do. And we saw this happen with Michael. There are still a significant number of people on the planet today who still believe that Michael was a perv. I put up a post about Michael Jackson about 2 days ago, and I go through the comments, and of course, there's got to be at least one person who says, "Oh, he was touching little kids." This is a person who knew nothing of the case. They just knew what the media was feeding them, and what other people say, and so in comment sections and whatnot. Now, and we talked about this before. Aphrodite Jones, who is a respected journalist, she said, I was in the court proceedings. I was there I was present the entire trial, the Jackson trial. And she said it was a shame that the media was not allowed in there as far as cameras, so that the public could see just how ridiculous these claims were and just how unreasonable the complainants were. But because we didn't get to see that, we didn't get to hear the testimony, we didn't get to just hear how flawed these claims were. A lot of us say, oh, he paid him off, so therefore he must be guilty. You know, so we've seen this play out before. And then, and then a lot of people say, well, what is the motive? What would be the motive for somebody claiming that? In Michael's case, there was plenty of reasons. In my opinion, I believe this about Cosby. Like I said, I'm just going on just history and the way things work. Cosby is a very wealthy black man. Okay, he's a very old, wealthy black man. Cosby is sitting on some very powerful assets. I don't know. There's no telling how many stocks he owns in NBC, how many stocks he owns here or there. But who knows what he's holding on that somebody else wants. Now, if you're holding on to assets, let's just say, this is just theoretical. Let's just say he owns 5,000 shares of, we'll say of NBC, okay? And NBC cannot move without his okay, because that him owning that many shares for whatever reason makes him a powerful player. So they can't make certain moves unless him as a major stockholder says okay and agrees with it, right? Now, if he's not having any money problems, he's going to sit on those stocks. He's doing really good, right? So when he dies, and I think we can all agree that he's old, he's probably got another decade. Now with all this stress, I don't know if he even has that, okay? When he dies, those assets pass on to his wife and to his children, okay? So now NBC will now have to wait another 50, 60 years until his daughter or son or whoever gets that, until they pass away, because they might decide, hey, we're never selling this, we're just going to sit on this, so. But if you can come up with some crazy ass allegations that's going to exhaust his financial situation, and with legal fees and with PR campaigns and this, that, and the other, then eventually he'll be forced to sell cheap. As a matter of fact, he'll be forced to sell just to be able to stay afloat and have something to pass on to his children. We saw this happen with Michael. Michael refused to give up his 50% of Sony Music stock, and which included the Beatles catalog, which included Elvis's catalog, which included some very powerful catalogs that he owned the publishing to. However, he was forced to sell that because of the allegations against him, and Sony gained their power back, as did the Beatles, and whoever else got those catalogs. So we got to keep that in mind when there's a motive that there's and we also got to look at where these allegations came from. These stem from a comedian named Hannibal Buress, right? Whose video, and this isn't Dave Chappelle or Chris Rock. His video just happens to go viral, and because that video goes viral, some lady says, hey, you know what? I was raped by Cosby. This viral video has given me the strength to come forth. And then another lady, and then another lady, and now everybody. Anybody who had a bad day in Hollywood is saying, oh yeah, he put his dick on my shoulder too. So I can't ignore that, brother. It just doesn't play well with me.
Well, here's the thing though, right? You talk about like how these allegations even become news and become something that everyone is talking about. What Hannibal Buress was talking about were the allegations that had come out about Bill Cosby years earlier, where Bill Cosby did settle the sexual, I don't want to call it rape, the sexual, the inappropriate sexual contact. We'll just say that, right?
Yeah.
Inappropriate sexual contact with this woman. And he settled, I don't know if it was one woman or a few women, but he settled that case. I know a few women were going to testify, but he settled, so they ended up not testifying about that case. So what Hannibal Buress was speaking on was something that was already public knowledge, something that was already out in the public sphere years ago. Like, folks have kind of forgot about it because it wasn't on the level of like some R. Kelly scandal shit where you saw a video and you got his music is first and foremost in your mind, and he's always talking about sex anyway. You don't get that whole ideal from Bill Cosby. You don't get that type of vibe from Bill Cosby. You believe R. Kelly did that shit because that's all the fuck he talks about. But you don't get that kind of vibe from Bill Cosby, right? So it brings back all of these women who had already were on the verge of speaking about Bill Cosby. It brings those women back to the forefront. And now these women who have, I guess they have the agency in which to speak. They can say what they need to say. It's not like it's funny how this internet shit works. Even 10 years ago, where everybody had access kind of the way we do now, but the means to get your message out have been made so much easier with the advent of Twitter and with the advent of let's say Facebook, so to speak. So like everybody has access. Everybody has a way to get the word out. So now these women who for years may have been marginalized have a means to say, yo, this is what happened to me. This happened to me, and Bill Cosby did this. Now, because it's first and foremost in everybody's mind, not only are they not the only one, but people are going to actually listen to me this time. Because before, once their case got shut down, nobody was fucking listening, right? So
Janice Dickinson was just on a show. She just recently got kicked off of a top model show or something. She had a platform. And Kathy Lee Gifford ain't no stranger to the camera. She could have came out and said he tried to kiss her.
Wait, Kathy Lee Gifford was one of the people that accused Bill Cosby of trying.
He just came. Oh no, hers is he tried to kiss me once. It's just anybody. He handed me a Jello pudding pop once. Anybody who this dude came in contact with is coming out. Everybody's got a story. I really think this is a case of, I think we're witnessing a robbery. I really do. I think we're witnessing a robbery. Cosby is a man who, like I said, we don't know what kind of enemies he has. We don't know. I mean, one just has to find it very ironic that he just had a new deal with NBC to produce a show similar to the Cosby Show, which was going to focus on the black family, the positive, a positive image of the black family, where he was, I guess, the grandfather in this one. And he also had a deal with Netflix. And he was embarking on a tour. Now, this is a guy who's remained quiet for a long time. Now, Hannibal Buress is at a line no matter how you scratch it up, because even if he did settle out, if you listen to that comic routine, he says he's pissed off, as like a lot of black people are, that Cosby had the nerve to tell them to pull their pants up. Oh, you tell me to pull my pants up, but you're a rapist. Now, that right there is libel and slander, because it's never been proven in the court of law that he is a rapist. Now, Hannibal Buress works for NBC. He got his bones writing for 30 Rock and writing for Saturday Night Live. Now, it is known that Cosby single-handedly saved that network twice in his career with his success, the success of I Spy back in the 60s, and the super success of his Cosby Show and Different World. Hannibal Buress is only eating. He is only surviving as a black comedian at that network because of a direct role that was paid for him by Cosby. So either way you look at it, not only is he a slanderous, libelous human being, he's also an Uncle Tom and a sellout, if we must call it.
Okay.
I had to say that because people call me the coon. I mean, he's a coon.
Well, but
that's your coon, your Uncle Tom, right there.
But here's the thing, though, and I think it's unfair that Hannibal Buress takes the blame for the actions that Bill Cosby supposedly engaged in, right?
Well, wait a minute.
Wait, hear me out. Hear me out. If Bill Cosby does not have any sexually, inappropriate sexual contact with a woman that's not his wife, where he has to go to court and he has to go settle a case where he's supposedly had inappropriate sexual contact with a woman that isn't his wife, Hannibal Buress doesn't have a joke to tell.
Okay, but here's the thing. Hannibal didn't say Cosby was accused of this. Cosby settled out of court on this. He said, you're a rapist, Bill Cosby. He said that, right? That to call a man a rapist that's a heavy ass charge. Nobody wants to walk around with that, with that label. Mm-hmm. And like I said, it was a dead issue. It was a dead issue that he settled out of court in 2004. It was a dead issue. Hannibal Buress, and here's another thing. Everybody's mad at Cosby. A lot of black people are still mad at Cosby because of his famous pound cake speech, and their complaint is he was airing out black people's dirty laundry. That you'll hear people say that, right? Hannibal Buress does not perform in front of black audiences. This is not a Def Jam comic or a Diddy Bad Boys a comedy comic. He is a white person's black comic. That's what he is. You will not see him unless he's on what's his name show? Funny guy, redhead guy. Louis. He's on the Louis show. Louis CK? Yeah, Louis C.K. He'll write. You know, the dude. So if anybody's airing out, you know, because a lot of white people don't even know about the pound cake speech. You know, but that was his routine, which was in front of a 90% white audience, was talking about, he told me to pull my pants up, but he's a rapist. You know, so I mean, it was not a funny joke either way, you know, true or not, and it was libelous. He didn't say he was accused of or anything like that. He said that this dude definitely was a rapist.
Well, that goes into the whole. You know, it goes into the whole thing about why, I guess, celebrities settle these types of cases. And I know we talked about this on the phone before. You know, my idea as to, you know, here's my idea, right? I'm Bill Cosby. I'm worth hundreds of millions of dollars, right? I got the Cosby Show that's still in syndication. People are still watching it. People are still enjoying it 20 years after it's been off the air, right? I've got A Different World, who made a lot of, you know, black people prideful in historically black colleges and universities across this country, and they wanted to go to these schools because they wanted to have the experience of, say, for instance, the fictional Hillman College, in which was portrayed in the show. So I got this going on for me, and all of a sudden I got this woman who I might have had some sexual contact with, or I might not. I might not even know this woman, but she's coming forth and she's saying that I did something to her, and I know I didn't. Right? So she brings forth this case, and she says I did X, Y, and Z to her, and I know I didn't do it. She knows I didn't do it. But I'm going to give this woman money to go the fuck away. You know what? I'm going to just go ahead. I'm going to settle this. It's not admitting guilt, but to the public at large, it kind of looks a little funny. Right? Even though, you know, you look at that, and I said the same thing with Michael Jackson. If I didn't do it, and this is just a broke person talking, right? This is just the regular everyday Joe. And but I'm playing with Bill Cosby money. If I didn't do it, and I can afford these lawyers to fight for me to say and prove that I didn't do coming before me, I don't want them thinking that they could just say, well, he did this to me, and I'm going to break him off just to keep him quiet if I didn't do it.
Yeah.
So the whole thing with the settling of cases, this is even with Michael Jackson. I never understood, if you didn't do it, why the hell aren't you out there fighting for your name?
Well, and that is a very valid argument, very valid point. The thing is, whenever somebody brings allegations against you, anything, doesn't matter what it is, there's someone out there who's going to believe it. There's someone who's going to believe it. It's going to become barbershop talk. It's going to become, you know, kitchen talk, and people are talking about you. Now, if you are a public figure, right? Because, I mean, for me and you, yes, it would make sense. I'm fighting that shit. There's no way you ain't getting away with that. But we don't have albums to promote. We don't have films to promote, TV shows. We don't have this public image that we must uphold. You know, so we have the time that it's going to take, because when you fight a case like that, it drags out. With you know, it drags out 4 or 5 years sometimes. I went through a case like this some years back, where I was accused of something, and it was 5 years. We were going back and forth to court. I had to go to all these depositions and all this stuff for 5 years. Now, imagine if the press was following me around. You know, it wouldn't be a good look. And so, if I have the money, because I remember feeling like this at times in the case, like, man, I just want this to go away, man. I'm just so tired of coming down here. I'm tired of talking about this. I've given you the same story a million times. You're waiting for me to try to trip up. I don't know what you guys want. I would just pay him off. But see, you don't have that much time. You don't have 5 years to play when you're Michael Jackson or Bill Cosby. You get rid of that real quick because you don't want people talking. Because another thing you're paying for is for them to shut up. We're here. Don't talk about that. Don't even say that. We don't want to see you on Oprah talking about it. We don't want to see you on Fox News talking about it. This is hush money. Just stop it. You got what you wanted, and go away.
Well, I'm sorry. Go ahead, bro.
Yeah, so I mean that's why they'll pay off, and that's also a motive for people to come with outrageous claims because they know how the game works and they know that you're willing to pay to make it go away.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing that I would, as a counterpoint.
Okay.
When we talk about whether or not folks are going to continue to talk about this, like they're going to, with this case dragging on, should you choose to fight it, with this case dragging on years and years, that folks are going to talk about this.
Yeah.
Folks are going to talk about it regardless. They're going to have their like you're always going to have a segment of the population who either don't like you for whatever reason, who want to believe the worst in you. And you're always going to have those who want to fight for you, but they want to have something to actually fight for. So say in an instance where, we're going through with Bill Cosby, and Bill Cosby isn't saying anything. He's got a lot of people out here fighting on behalf of his name. Like, I grew up with Bill Cosby. Bill Cosby, gave me Fat Albert. Bill Cosby gave me The Cosby Show. Bill Cosby gave me A Different World. And they believe in Bill Cosby so much, but he hasn't given them a whole hell of a lot to fight for outside of the fact that it's just Bill Cosby. So despite the fact that you have some folks who are probably enjoying this because Bill Cosby, he did the speech, in which he was admonishing black folks about their current condition and everything else. Yeah, there are going to be some people that are mad about Bill Cosby and they're enjoying that. He's coming down. He's being taken down a peg. But then you also have those who are honestly just like, you know what? I grew up with Bill Cosby. I grew up with his shows and everything, but at this particular juncture, it sounds to me like he did that shit, and they don't take any joy in it at all. They're just they're just going based off of what's being put in front of them, and his lack of defending himself. And that's the thing to me. And I said this again, even with Michael Jackson, the lack of defending yourself. If you know you didn't do this shit, ain't no way. I'm not allowing you to extort me. I'm not allowing you to legally extort me by asking, to have a settlement in which I go out of court and pay you X amount of dollars and you can't talk about it again. In a way, that's just legal extortion.
Well, here's the thing. Okay. Michael Jackson, you'll notice he rarely talked about his trials, as ludicrous as they were. And these were personal friends of his that did this. Once he paid off Jordan Chandler and his family, he didn't speak about it no more either. And neither does the press, really. I mean, the press will kind of, they'll say, recent allegations, he paid off this, that, and the other. But what they won't tell you is that Jordan Chandler has since come out saying that his father forced him to do that. Right? They won't tell you that Jordan Chandler's father killed himself exactly 1 month after Michael Jackson died because of the guilt. And the fact that his son wouldn't talk to him anymore for ruining not only his life but Michael Jackson's life as well. See, the press is not going to give you that. Now, what sets Cosby apart from, let's say, R. Kelly and Michael Jackson is that we didn't see the victim. You didn't see, unless you watched that tape like a sicko, you didn't see the victim. We never heard from her. We never seen her. She wasn't all over the TV crying. She wasn't going on Anderson Cooper. And then he touched me. We didn't see none of that. We heard about it. We knew that there was a tape, and we knew that he paid it off or whatever. But he was able to go on because even though we talk about it, people still call R. Kelly a pervert, but they still gonna go to his concert. They still gonna bump his music, because. And same thing with Michael Jackson. We didn't see the victims. Cosby's case, we're seeing these women. These women are in our face with these crazy, outrageous stories. Some of them, there are really non-events. One lady said, I think it was the model said that he drugged me and I called him a motherfucker and he put me in a cab. What kind of damn story is that? Like she should have kept that to herself. Because I'm gonna tell you right now, you know how many women, okay, that from my past, at any time I decide to become a billionaire or a multimillionaire, do you know how many women from my past can come and turn some consensual shit into something else? And it's partially true because we were intimate, but because she drank, she had a few drinks, we had a few drinks. Oh, he got me drunk. Oh, he did this, or he did that. And you know, and I'm gonna sit here and the burden's gonna be on me to prove that I didn't do that. I'm like, wait a minute, we was together, you know, we was kicking it that night. What are you talking about? Everything was like cool, you know. But she can turn it into whatever she wants, and then I have to sit here and everyone say, well, how come you're not defending yourself? I'm like, dude, like, why should I defend myself against that? That was something that happened 15 years ago at a nightclub, and we was both consensually having a good time, and now she wants money. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know, man. I'm not buying the Cosby thing, man. Again, I don't know. He could be guilty, but I'm not gonna say he is until they give me something more than just a bunch of crying ass wannabe starlets who shit just didn't work out for.
But going back to that, though, good points. But going back to that, when we talk about whether or not these women were just, you know, starlets who didn't have, you know, who didn't get what they thought what they were promised or whatever, right? We think about how many women actually falsely accuse anyone of inappropriate sexual conduct, rape, drugging, or what have you.
A lot.
You say a lot.
Yes.
Yes. What percentage of women would you put that at?
You know, I couldn't give you a percentage, but I mean, I've seen this happen. I've seen fake pregnancies. I've seen girls extort. These are just regular dudes. These ain't Cosby's. These are just homies. Who girls like, I'm pregnant. I need some money for the abortion, and then she come back with a new weave and her nails done. You know what I'm saying? So I've seen. I think it happens a lot. I mean,
that's happened cases. That's happened to me before, but I knew how to get around that.
Wait a minute now. Imagine if you was Cosby. Hold on. Imagine if you was Cosby.
I'm gonna tell you how. Wait. Okay. I'm gonna tell you how I did it. Right. Okay. A woman whom I had been with told me that she was pregnant, and I said okay. She sent me where she fucked up. She sent me a text message of an inconclusive pregnancy test.
Okay.
And she said that she believed that she was pregnant. I said, okay, what we're gonna do, I will go buy some pregnancy tests, and you will come over here and you will take these pregnancy tests, and we'll find out together.
Okay. And did she comply?
She never showed up.
You know what?
I never heard from her again.
Hold on, I got one better for you. Because I had the same situation when I was like 19 or 20. I told her, I said, go ahead and have the baby. We'll see if it's mine. Because I knew she wasn't pregnant. You know what I'm saying? That yours is probably the safer route. So young men, if you're listening, his is the safer way to do it. But if you just call her bluff and say, go ahead and have it, let me see if it looks like me.
Well, here's the point that I was getting ready to make, though. Because here's the point that I was getting ready to make, though. When we think about like false rape allegations, man, honestly, and these types of numbers have been documented that it's in between 2 to 8% of women have had cases. There have been 2 to 8% of cases where women have either falsely accused or recanted their rape allegations against someone, right? 2 to 8%. And my question for Cosby is, how lucky or how unlucky does a motherfucker have to be to fall into that 2 to 8% 27 times, to hit that jackpot 27 times?
That
right?
is a very powerful point.
You know, that's the thing. Like, we you know, and we can go into, you know, again, we talk about whether or not these women were, you know, they're scorned women, whether or not they were promised something and they didn't receive what they were promised or what have you. We could talk about that. And, you know, a lot of people, when they go into the whole thing of like a lot of what I've been seeing in the defense of Cosby from a lot of folks is, why did these women wait so late? Why are they coming out now? And even when it comes to that question of why are they coming out now, I would say, like, you know what, it's interesting the timing, but when it comes to, say for instance, if we're talking about, say for instance, like the conspiracy theory, just say we're talking about the theory, and the timing.
Yeah,
they're coming out now when Bill Cosby, although he was about to do a show on NBC, and he was about to come out with a comedy special on Netflix, and he does tour. He still tours around the country as far as doing his stand-up and what have you. Why wouldn't they come out? Like, if this was a thing when they really wanted to like really come down on Cosby, if we were going to come down on this powerful black entrepreneur, entertainer, why wouldn't they come for Bill Cosby at a time when he was at his most influential?
Okay.
When he was, at the top of, the Cosby Show was the biggest show on TV. When A Different World was one of the more influential black shows on television, inspiring young black souls to go to black colleges and everything else. Why wouldn't these allegations come forth at that time? Or better yet, at a time when Bill Cosby was actually trying to buy NBC. I've seen that come out a bit about Bill Cosby buying NBC. He didn't do it, but he actually put forth that attempt. He wasn't successful in that attempt. But now it's coming forth Bill Cosby tried to buy NBC. He wasn't successful in doing that, and that was years ago. So why are these allegations now? When we talk about allegations now, why wouldn't, when we talk about the motivation of these women, if there was a lot of malice, because I'm not sure of all of the stories, but when it comes to the malice in their intent, why not do this when Bill Cosby is at his most influential?
Okay. Well, going back to what you first said, which you made a very valid point. How is it that, the percentage thing you said, right? Mm-hmm. Well, I have to say this, man. I know a girl in Las Vegas. Okay, she is an ex-lady of the night. Mm-hmm. She used to be in a stable. Beautiful, beautiful girls, all of them. Right? It had to be about this one pimp. This one pimp had to be 11 or 12 very hot girls working for his stable. He had them in these mansions all around town, and they would work in a concerted effort to rob men. You know what I mean? Like they would go out together. You would never know these girls knew each other, and then they would work a casino. Right? They would work a guy. They'd find out, they'd have their phones out, but okay, I just found this guy. This guy's got a wad of money. Boom, boom, boom. I'm about to go up to the room. Y'all meet me over here. Boom. And they would roll men. That's what they would do. They would roll men. They would take their Rolexes, take their money, and it was 12 of them. 12 of them, all doing it for this one pimp. Right? Now, anybody on the surface would just say that's just 12 beautiful girls of different races who, there's no telling if they know each other or whatever. And no one knew the pimp. The pimp, no one knew him. So what I'm saying is, it's not hard to get 26 women. If you're a super rich person or if you're influential in any way, it's not hard to get 26, 27, 30, 40 women to do your bidding. If there's a light at the end of the rainbow for them, or if you have some dirt on them, you can blackmail them or whatever. So I mean, I can see that happening if you have a powerful enough enemy. They can employ 30 to 40 women to say whatever they told him to say. Okay. Now, as far as why come for him now, in my conspiracy theory mind, I say it's because he's up there in years. He's not going to be here for that long, and they need him. Somebody needs him to come up off of some assets that they don't want him to pass on to his children, which would buy those assets another 20, 30, 40, possibly 50 years of ownership before they'll be able to buy it again. So I think that somebody's trying to weaken his resolve to force him to sell some shit before he can pass it on to his children, just like they did to Michael. If Michael would have been able to pass, just imagine Michael's kids were 12, 13 when he died. Imagine if he would have still owned that 50% of Sony music stock and owned the Beatles catalog and the Elvis catalog, plus his money was right. He would have passed that on to little Paris and all his kids who were 12 and 13. Those kids got about another 50 or 60 years of life. Okay, so if they're financially empowered already, they don't need to touch those stocks. They sit on it. They're half owners of Sony Music just by default. They don't have to sell it, and they're still good, money-wise. So they made Michael come up off that shit before he had a chance to do that. I think we're seeing the same thing with Mr. Cosby.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing with me where I find it kind of a little far fetched for that, right?
Okay.
Because so many of these allegations, man, are so are so long ago. You have allegations that have come out from the 60s, the 70s, the 80s. Yeah. Basically, from the last 40 years, Bill Cosby has been acting, if we are to believe everything that these women are saying, Bill Cosby has been acting with impunity for damn near 50 years. As far as, drugging them, raping them, doing whatever it is that he's doing to them, Bill Cosby has been able to do this. So when we think about the fact that as far as legal ramifications that Bill Cosby is going through, and most of these cases have reached their statute of limitations, right? Meaning no one can really prosecute Bill Cosby for the crimes that he's said to have committed. Yeah. He's under no obligation at all to say anything. That's one thing, and I'm saying like he should say something because of the fact that it's his name, and he should defend his name. Legally, he's not obligated to say a goddamn thing, and his lawyers are telling him that. Yeah. But
I agree with that. I wish he would come out and say something, but there just has to be. I mean, there has to be a reason why he's not. I hate to think that it's just because he's that arrogant that he's like, I ain't got to say nothing to that. I just
think about it though. Like when you think about, like, say for instance, like now, and I've seen this, this narrative come across social media a little bit lately. When it comes about when Bill Cosby has come out and said that he thinks that black media should be neutral in this situation, as far as how they report it, how it's presented, and everything else. And it's funny that, to me and to a lot of folks, it's funny that he would actually single out black media to be fair and to be honest about how, about how they go about reporting a story, as if to say, almost as if black media isn't fair and isn't honest by default. That you have to, and that goes to folks' attitude about Bill Cosby, about how he speaks down to black folks. Right?
Okay, well, hold on. Let's talk about this now.
Okay.
The black media has not been forgiving to Cosby, and from what I understand, Cosby was saying he didn't want preferential treatment. That was his statement. It was like, don't give me special treatment. Be honest and report fair. That was what he was saying. But other than that, the black media has not been fair to him. Everyone has jumped on him. Now here you have a man who grew up in the ghetto of Philly. All right, there's a single mother, right? Brothers and sisters sharing clothes, hand-me-down shoes, who grows up and becomes one of the first black superstars in American history, right? Because before that, what do we have? We had Amos and Andy, and then before that, we had the minstrel shows, right? So I Spy was like one of the first mega shows that featured a black face, right? So then now he does he take this money and go live with the whites and just say, forget the black people? No, he takes that money, he starts investing in black business. He takes that money, he starts putting people through school. He invests in the first ever black filmed, written, and starring all black cast by Melvin Van Peebles. The film became Sweetback's Badass Song. He put Earth, Wind, and Fire on. This is what he was doing with his money. He was trying to empower black people. When he gave $20 million, the largest contribution ever from one person to a black institution of education, he said, if we can give churches our money, then surely we can give money to our children's education. So then he creates the Cosby Show, because he was tired of the images of black people always making us thugs, he wanted to counter that. Right? Then he did Different World. He wanted, because that was at the time where teenage pregnancy was running rampant through the black community. He said, you know what? I want to show young black women going to college. He gave us that. This is the kind of stuff that he did with his power and his money, right? So, and damn it, I got so passionately wrapped up in that, I forgot what your point was that I was arguing. But what I'm saying is this is a man. Oh yeah, we're getting back to the pound cake speech. This is a man who has every right to try to tell people. Black people are constantly going to Cosby. Cosby, how do we get like you? Cosby, how do we do this? So he gives you the answer. The problem was the answer didn't feel good. The answer didn't cater to the perpetual victim. He didn't say, hey, it's white people's fault that you're where you are. So, white people are too powerful. We can't beat them. He didn't say that. He said, no, I'm going to teach you how to empower. I'm going to teach you about what real black power is. And they didn't like the blueprint that he gave them. And so they called him an Uncle Tom. They call him a sellout. They call him a coon. And now in his time of need, his need of support, no one's there for him. No one's there for him. The only entertainer in history that has been obsessed with the image and respect of the respect of the image of the African American. No one else has done it. You can't rely on none of these rappers, not since the 1990s. None of these rappers care about the black image and how the rest of the world perceives us. This is the one guy who not only talked the talk, but he walked the walk with his dollars. He gave us his dollars. Then when he gives us his advice, we turn our back on him. Oh, I don't like to hear that. Now, if he'd have got up there and said, well, it's because of the white man that y'all can't afford Jello pudding pops, they would have been applauding him and loving him, but there would have been no solution. There would have been no solution. He didn't give you excuses. He gave you solutions. Pull your pants up. If Barack Obama was on the campaign trail with his pants sagging, none of y'all would have voted for him. I don't care how real you are, because you wouldn't have taken him serious. No one takes you serious when you sag your pants. You dig what I'm saying? Now, when you're a little kid, cool. But if you're a grown man sagging your pants, don't do it. That's what he was saying. Don't put tattoos on your face, neck, and hand, because people will judge you, because we all do that. So he gave us the blueprint to black power, true black power, not black victimhood like Michael Eric Dyson or Russell Simmons lately. He's given us the blueprint to true black power. And people didn't like what he had to say, so now they're happy to see him. They're happy to see the white supremacist machine rob this man of everything that he's ever worked for and make sure that he has nothing to pass on to his children. Now, had he divorced, and I believe this, had he divorced Camille, the black woman that he's been married to since the 1960s, and married a white woman, they wouldn't be fucking with him, because when he dies, as most men do before their wives, that money would go right back into white hands. This is why Jordan just saved himself. He got rid of the black one and got him a white one. Same with Eddie Murphy. They know they're safe now. Ain't nobody gonna fuck with them.
Okay. Here's the thing. I got to push back a little bit on that. Right.
Okay.
When you talk about his contribution to, like, I don't think there's any dispute that his contribution to black art, black awareness. Again, we could talk about his involvement in historically black colleges and universities. I don't think that's even up for debate. I don't think anybody can question his commitment in those areas, because he's given so much of his time and he's given so much of his money to those causes. I don't think that's even up for debate. I think the fact that when we look at what's going on there, when we look at what's going on with these allegations that are coming out about Cosby, I think that it's a bit, for us, it would be disingenuous to just kind of turn a blind eye to it simply because of what he's done in the past, because of what he has presented to us before, right? I think it'll be disingenuous of us to just not look at it and look at it for, okay, this is what's being faced with Bill Cosby, and this is, like, even though it hurts to look at him this way, for even those who love Bill Cosby, it hurts to look at him this way. But the evidence is mounted against him that he probably did operate with in a certain mode, and none of us were privy to, right?
Yeah. And for the record, before you continue, let me say that I only mentioned his contributions as to the reason why so many black people are applauding his downfall right now. It had nothing to do with the allegations themselves. And then I just laid that out as to why it was so absurd for so many black people to be upset about his pound cake speech. But go ahead and continue.
No problem, bro. No problem. But the thing about it though, when we talk about like his blueprint for instance, for Black Power, or how to obtain power and everything else, when we talk about his pound cake speech, a lot of the his championing of respectability politics, right? And basically, if you act this way, people will respect you. If you act this way, people won't respect you. And we're at a time now where a lot of black folks ain't really checking for that respectability politics shit, right? Because we've seen so many instances of people who were, say for instance, dressed a certain way and didn't get a job that they should have probably gotten, who were acting a certain way, who was probably killed by police with, unwarrantedly, like they've gone about life believing in this respectability politics. Like, if I act a certain way, if I behave a certain way, if I do things a certain way, then things will fall in line for me. And for a lot of black folks, shit ain't falling exactly in line for them in that way, and they're going about the respectability politics. They're going about everything that Bill Cosby said. And like one of the beacons, like we see this all the time, man. Say for instance, like, and we're going to talk a little bit about this later, like with what's going on with the police brutality, protest and marches and things like that. And you get hit with, say for instance, like the "I Can't Breathe" shirts, and now you have people saying, you have people posing. I saw a picture today of 3 white dudes having on shirts saying "I can breathe" and thanking the New York City Police Department.
Yeah, I saw that.
So like you're looking at things like that, and it's like, okay, that dude wasn't committing a crime at all. He was just out hanging out with his friends. He had just actually broken up a fight, and he ends up in a chokehold that results in the end of his life. Yeah. And you have people. And he still ends up losing his life. Yeah. So when you're thinking about the whole respectability politics of it, like, you do this, you do this, you do this, and you can have this. Like, for a lot of folks, it ain't working out that way for them.
Well, let me say that's because they don't really understand. The thing is, people think, because on my show I tell young men all the time that the way you present yourself is the way the world's going to respond to you. Now, a lot of people think when I tell a young man to pull your pants up, they think that I'm saying act white. They think that if I tell them to not tattoo their face, neck, or hands, I'm telling them to act white. This has nothing to do with act white. There are plenty of women who were not dressed provocatively who've gotten raped. You know what I'm saying? There have been plenty of white guys who were dressed in suits that didn't get a job or got pulled over by the police or got arrested or whatever. There's been plenty of that. Now, we'd be fools to believe, to not see that people of color have been marginalized and have been, when it comes, especially when it comes to police. Of course, we're going to be pulled over more often than not. We're going to be harassed more often than not. Yes. And we understand that. I get harassed. But guess what? When the cops fuck with me, they don't find shit. They're wasting their motherfucking time with me. You know what I'm saying? But I don't argue. I'm just like, hey, let me go my ID. What the fuck you want? Because if I feel like I'm being wronged by this cop, I'm not gonna fight with the cop. You're not gonna win that. Instead, I'm gonna take the ticket. I'm gonna take the harassment or whatever, and then I'm gonna lawyer up and I'm gonna go to court and I'm gonna fight it in court. I have a phone. I got a camera. I can go fight it in court. Why would I sit here and try to fight with this cop who's just going to call more cops, and then I'm going to end up on the concrete with my clothes all fucked up, you know what I'm saying, and possibly with my head busted up? Fight it in court. Don't sit there and don't argue with no cops. Don't argue with them. And that doesn't make you a sellout. That doesn't make you a punk. It's just, the bottom line is we cannot front like there aren't criminals walking amongst us. There's criminals out there. You know what I'm saying? The cops pull people over all the time. They have illegal guns, that have drugs, that have whatever. And they take them off to jail. It's now when they fuck with us, because we ain't got nothing. I do not have an illegal weapon. I do not have any drugs on me. You're just wasting your fucking time with me. But let them just go through the motions. So what? It's like, all right, man, look, you just made me late for whatever the fuck I'm doing, man. All right, man. Cool, peace. Call your lawyer and go and then get the cop's badge number and then boom, take him to court. Fight it there. You are not going to win on the streets. You're just not. It's not going to happen. Okay. Now, another thing is, what do we want from the cops? Do we not want cops? Do we just like no cops? We just don't want no cops. Now, does there need to be reform? Absolutely. There should be cameras on every cop uniform, complete with sound, full color. There's no question about that. There should be harsher laws for cops who break the law, because there has to be a certain level of trust for cops. Cops have to be held at a higher standard. No one argues with that. But when I go to my timeline on Facebook and I see a bunch of videos of people clearly resisting arrest, clearly being just unreasonable for no reason. Cops like, hey, you got any ID? I don't have to give you my ID. I don't have. It's like, dude, just give me your ID and keep it moving. So what? If you're not doing nothing, give it to them. Now you're making them suspicious. Now you got a fight on your hands. Now your friend's going to video it. You guys are only going to start the video after the cop done roughed you up because you were resisting. And then the rest of the world's like, dude, these pigs. We got to do something about these pigs. You know, and then try to make this kid the next Trayvon Martin or the next Emmett Till. I've been seeing Emmett Till. This is a case happened 100 years ago. You know what I'm saying? And people are making these comparisons. It's like, dude, no, that had nothing to do with this case. The Trayvon Martin case has nothing to do with the Garner case, has nothing to do with, definitely has nothing to do with what happened in Ferguson, which is just a travesty. And, you know, so when it comes to all of that, man, we got to, you know, when it comes to respectability politics, has nothing to do with trying to be accepted by white people. Has nothing. It has to do with being respected as a man in the Western world. Period. Yeah. And, yeah. So that's what it's about. It has nothing to do with trying to appease anybody.
Well, you know, when I speak about respectability politics, man, and it really stems from like a lot of the different conversations that I have online with white and black folks alike, who would say that if you did X, Y, and Z, you know, this wouldn't have happened to you. And by, you know, a lot of times, or sometimes, or say for instance, what happened with what we're going to talk about next, Mike Brown. If he had acted in X, Y, and Z, this wouldn't have happened to you. Yeah, it's easy for us to say that, but we don't know if X, Y, if that would, we don't know if that would not have happened to him had he been acting in such a way. And one of the biggest beacons of, or one of the biggest examples of respectability politics to me is Dr. Martin Luther King, one of the most respectable human beings anybody could ever think to come across. He spoke eloquently. He was well dressed. He was well respected, and he still ended up with a bullet in the face.
Yeah. So well, that was the white supremacist method of taking him out, rather than saying that, you know, a bunch of white women that he raped them. It's the same thing. He was doing, you know, he was dangerous for the establishment. He was dangerous. Now, he wasn't dangerous when he was talking about, you know, nonviolence and all this. It was when he started talking about reparations. It was when he shook hands with Malcolm X. It was when he started to realize that he had been being used as a puppet for so long that they had to take him out.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So but like I said, you know, I'm glad you brought him up, because there's a man who on record known was you know, he had a thing for light-skinned women, and he had plenty of trysts on the side of his wife. Does that take away from the good? Does his fault, you know, failures as a man of the flesh, does this take away from the good he did for the rest of the world? Does this break his moral, break through his moral fabric, and make him any less of a leader because this guy had these indiscretions?
Well, I think the difference between what was going on with Dr. King and Mr. Cosby was the fact that it would we can argue consensuality would be the difference between the two. Okay. Dr. King didn't have 27 women. Like, you know what? He took the shit.
Well, hold on, he took it. But here's the thing about Dr. King was a reverend.
Okay.
According to the good book, you do not do that.
Indeed.
So Cosby's a comedian.
Indeed. And what we can, when you talk about, you know, him being a reverend, we could talk about his spirituality and how God is going to deal with that. But if we're talking about how we're going to deal with things here on planet Earth and the laws of the land, Dr. King and Bill Cosby, there's two little, you know, it's almost apples and oranges, man, when we talk about, you know, whether or not he took it or whether or not he just was out here stepping out on his wife. So it's a different thing there. Even though both of them were married, both of them were dealing with women outside of the women they were married to. If there's a line there. There's a line there.
But where they're the same is that these were two black men who were very concerned with not only the image but the respectability, the respect level that was given to their people, and they were assassinated for him. One of them physically, the other one character-wise. And you just simply have to understand. You have to consider the fact. You don't have to understand anything, but you do have to consider the fact that this may be what we're seeing with Cosby. You know, is an assassination all over again. Just this time it's character, and you know you just have to accept the fact that you might be dealing with 27 liars that are doing the talk show circuit and getting paid for each one of these interviews. Yeah. So, but we can. I know we've talked about that one for a long time. We can go on to the comedy now. Now, did you know that two cops just got shot today in Brooklyn?
No, I did not know that.
Two cops just got shot execution style while they sat in their car in Brooklyn. See, and this is I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people applauding that right now. You know,
and they would be misguided in doing so. Let's just say that now. They would be misguided in doing so.
Absolutely.
As far as like views towards the police, man, like of course, like I've had some dealings with the police, some not as favorable to me when it comes to the police. I guess my view of the police is that I don't view the police as I don't look to the police to protect me. Yeah. I look at the police as sort of a reactionary force. You call them after some shit didn't happen. Mm-hmm. And hopefully they get there in time. 9 times out of 10 they won't. They come and they clean shit up. Very seldom do I believe the police prevent shit from happening outside of somebody who's pretty much law abiding. Like, you know, I don't want to get in trouble with the police. You know, they have that fear. But I honestly don't believe. I don't look to the police to protect me, right? So, you know, this thing with, say for instance, Eric Gardner. We talked about earlier before the pictures of those gentlemen that were wearing the "I Can Breathe" shirts and thanking the New York City Police Department for all it is that they do. Yeah. Which is ironic because they were thanking them for basically killing a black man. But, you know, I digress. But when we think about what happened with Mike Brown, okay. The thing with Mike Brown that I think we kind of take a little bit of a different tact on was, you believe like Mike Brown was being a hood wolf, pretty much. Like he was just out here.
Is there a question there?
Well, I don't know, man. Like here's the thing. Like, we could talk about whether or not the strong arm robbery or Mike or better yet Darren Wilson's account of what happened between him and Mike Brown, whether or not they're linked and whether or not they happened the way that Darren Wilson said that they did. Okay. Right? Yeah. So, say for instance, like, and it's funny too. Anytime that we talk about what happens with young black males when they're gunned down, say for instance by the police or someone who isn't police, like say Jordan Davis, who was killed by a guy who said he just wanted them to turn down the fucking radio, mm-hmm. or Trayvon Martin, who was gunned down by George Zimmerman, who said he was a self-appointed neighborhood watchman. Okay. Anytime we go through this cycle of where we start trying these young men in the court of public opinion, when they aren't here to defend themselves, right? They can't say what happened, or they can't say why these things happen. And we start seeing these things where we start to try to criminalize the victim, where we saw with Trayvon Martin, where we saw, people were going through his Facebook and his social media trying to find some of the most unflattering photos of Trayvon Martin with the grill, whether or not he was, Trayvon Martin smoked weed. We saw pictures of, right after the whole Mike Brown thing, where we saw the video come out of Mike Brown strong arm robbery of cigars. He supposed, he was walking in the street, and that is what, and that is what started the encounter between him and Darren Wilson, and some of the responses that Mike Brown's gave Darren Wilson, where it's like telling him to get out of the street, and it's so many different questions that need to be asked about what's going on with these topics. But one of the first things that always comes to mind with me lately is why the dead end up being tried more so than the person who took them out, right?
Well, that would okay, and that's a very valid question, but I think we're all going to do that. I mean, automatically, Darren Wilson is a racist. Automatically, he's a racist. Nobody knows. Nobody has any pictures of him wearing a hood. Nobody has any pictures of a Confederate flag. No one has any of that. But because he's a cop and he's white, he's racist. So he's put on trial right there. I mean, naturally, we know what happened. He should have been put on trial for the shooting. But his character is already convicted. He's a white racist, right? So we already do that. Bill Cosby is a rapist. Right? Even ain't no proof, ain't no DNA, none of that. It's just people said he is. More people than not said he is. That's what he is. Historically, men have raped women. He's one of them. So I think that's just human nature for us to do that. Now, when it comes to Mike Brown, okay, that armed robbery, now I understand what you're saying about Trayvon Martin. Trayvon Martin, the only thing that is important to me in a case like this is what happened just before, what happened during, and what happened exactly after. That's what matters, because I don't care if Trayvon smoked weed, or got kicked out of school, a year prior. That has nothing to do with what happened that night. What was he doing that night? Was he breaking into something and then this guy stopped him and then a fight ensued? No, that's not what happened. What happened to him is he was walking. This guy didn't like the fact that he was walking through the neighborhood and decided to follow him. And like anybody, where he asked the guy, "Why are you following me?" He runs from the guy chases him. Then the fight starts. He was stalked and murdered, much like Emmett Till was. Okay? Now, Mike Brown, moments before that happened, we seen him on video threatening someone with physical violence. Now, was it over cigars? I don't know. It could have been because the guy was Arab. He didn't like Arab people. It could have been because the guy was too short. I don't know what it was, but I do know that we don't need sound to know that he was physically threatening that man. And that was less than 5 minutes before what ended up happened. Now, whether the cop pulled up because of the cigars or he pulled up because these two grown-ass boys were walking in the middle of the street when there was clearly two sidewalks on either side of the street, that is a reason for the cop to mess with you. The cop can say, hey, jaywalking or theft or robbery, whatever it was. All right? Now, had these boys been on the sidewalk, cop probably would have just kept driving. These kids decided to walk in the middle of the street. Now, this is I'm just going by his friend. What's his name?
I think it's Dorian Johnson.
Dorian Johnson. I'm going by his testimony. We were walking in the middle of the street, and then the cop, and that's exactly how he talked. I'm not even making fun of him. We were walking in the middle of the street. Cop was like, get the F on the sidewalk. We was like, we just going right here. Instead of saying, okay, our bad, go ahead and pass. They were like, no, we only got this way to go. We only going right here, so we're gonna continue to walk in the middle of the street till we get there. Either way, this is a reason for a cop to mess with you. Okay? Now, it is applicable what happened in that convenience store moments later, because I believe he stole those cigars. I believe it's pretty clear and pretty apparent, because I've been to convenience stores a million times, as we all have. There is no reason for you to reach your body completely behind it unless you're grabbing something back there that you don't need to be grabbing, that the clerk could grab for you. So he does that, and he comes back with cigars, hands them to his homeboy, and then puts something on the table. I guess people are saying he paid for it. Doesn't mean he paid for it. What if you only put $1 up there, right? All I know is that clerk felt a reason to try to follow him and apprehend him before he went to the store, realizing that he was too big to be, to mess with him, and just let him go. Mm-hmm. Okay, that I mean, there's a difference between a thief and a strong arm robber. A thief wants to get away without confrontation. They're trying to sneak it in their jacket. They run away. They don't want confrontation. A strong arm robber wants confrontation. They're letting you know, I'm taking this, and what are you gonna do? He's a bully, right? So to make me to try to for this many people to believe that what they seen, you seen it, because there was people saying it wasn't even him. It's like, okay, really, yellow socks, really, 6'8", whatever he was, really, okay, to see that. And then try to convince me that he turned into Christopher Robin 5 minutes later for that cop. I'm not buying it.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing where I think it's real questionable is when the interaction with the cop. Okay, when this story first started, when it was fleshing itself out, the official word was that Darren Wilson had no idea about a strong arm robbery. He was talking to these boys about walking in the street, right? When you look at the grand jury testimony about his interaction with Mike Brown and Dorian Wilson, it was about what Darren Wilson wasn't going to do, or what Mike Brown said the police wasn't going to do, right? Now, say for instance, if Mike Brown had just strong arm robbed a liquor store for some cigars, and the police were coming to you for whatever reason. I've just been involved in a crime, and the police are like right here. I don't really want to go to jail, or this is the thought. I ain't trying to go to jail. I'm trying to get the fuck away. I'm just gonna go home and enjoy this with my weed or whatever. If that's what it was that they were going to do, right?
Yeah. Why
then he would become antagonistic to the point where he's going to reach into a car and fight a police officer for his gun, and end up running away and then charging forward back towards the police while the police is shooting at him 12 times, getting hit 6 times. That
seems crazy.
Yeah, it does seem crazy. And then when you think about the fact that Darren Wilson didn't know about said strong arm robbery, but was then also given time before he was due to testify before the state's grand jury, and all of a sudden now he knows, well, it came over the radio that there was a strong arm robbery in this liquor store, and these two matched the description. It's like, wait, that ain't what you said before. Now you've been coached, you've had time to lawyer up, you've been coached to say, well, okay, this is the story now. I heard that these kids have been involved in the strong arm robbery. They both fit the description, and Mike Brown, for whatever reason, and not only that, I'm going to talk to them about jaywalking. I'm not going to talk to them about the strong arm robbery. I'm going to talk to them about the jaywalking.
Okay. Now that's very good, valid points. Now, when did we find out though? We never heard from Darren Wilson until after everything happened. We never heard his testimony.
This was in the grand jury testimony has been made available to the public. You can actually go read it.
Okay. And he said that he in the grand jury testimony he said that he got it over the radio, correct?
Exactly.
Okay. Now, how do we know that's not true?
Because of the way that no, not the media. Because of the way that the Ferguson Police Department explained the story to us when the story first came about.
What did they say?
That he had what the Ferguson Police Department came out and said when this story first broke news was that Officer Wilson had engaged these two gentlemen about jaywalking in the street. There was no mention at all of Officer Wilson engaging these two kids about a strong arm robbery in a liquor store. And then afterwards, you started seeing these leaks of the video of the strong arm robbery of Mike with Mike Brown in that video, and then you started seeing stories of, okay, this is why Officer Wilson stopped the two. So it came out afterwards that Mike Brown had been involved in a strong arm robbery. That news came out afterwards. What Darren Wilson initially said that he engaged those kids with was the fact that they were jaywalking, or that they were walking in the middle of the street.
And then that's the story I heard too. Now, I don't know why that is. I mean, it could have been, to charge a dead kid on top after your department is responsible for taking his life, and you know you're about to deal with a powder keg, to charge this kid for armed robbery when you don't have all the facts, but you have to give the media something. I think it could have been somebody jumping the gun. I would have liked to see this case go to trial, but I really believe, would have. Yeah, but no, I don't think everybody would have, because I think a lot of what people would like to believe would have been false. First of all, I want to hear from the people that were in that store. Mm-hmm. I want to hear from that clerk. What was that about? What happened right there? All right. I want to hear from Dorian Johnson. I'm telling you, he was gonna mess that case up the same way that big hood rat messed up Trayvon's case. He was gonna get on that stand as the star witness and mess everything up, because the kid, his story has changed up. There's no way he should have been talking to the press as much as he was, But I'm going to tell you like this, man. Okay, do we need reform in the United States law enforcement program? Absolutely, right? Mm-hmm. Should Mike Brown be the face of victims of police brutality? I do not think so. Okay, because whether that cop knew, either way, if I'm walking in the middle of the street, a cop drives by, or at least especially if the cop's trying to pass me, I'm in his way, he's going to say something to me. Get out of the fucking road. Get out of the road. Right? And I'm going to respond to him however. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So I'm asking for it when I do that. You're asking for at least a jaywalking ticket. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. I don't think Mike Brown should have been the face, but none of this. Garner was a much stronger case for police brutality and wrongful death suits. Mike Brown, listen, okay, there's a video, and I played it on my last show. I played the audio. That video was made at the very moment that this happened. Mike Brown's body was still in the street, and you hear a black man off camera stating, he said, I saw it happen. He said the cop was still inside the truck when the boys ran off. He said, and so another guy said, well, how did his body end up this way? And why is his hat over there? He said, because the cop had his gun drawn and the dude turned around and ran back at the cop. And he said, I thought the cop was missing because he kept shooting and the dude kept running. That's exactly what Darren said. Okay. And I really believe that young black witness who got killed during the riots was either that guy, or he had a similar story that didn't fit the narrative that black people wanted it to fit, so they took him out. Okay, the Klan did it. Wasn't no Klan out there.
Well, here's the thing though, because when we talk about whether or not there was, eyewitness accounts or recorded eyewitness accounts, you have the recorded eyewitness accounts of the two white construction workers who were also there at the time of that shooting, who said that the dude had his hands up when he was being shot, and this was also at the very time where this incident took place, where folks were they actually, I think they showed this video on I think it was CNN, and I think it also was on Inside Edition or something like that. But there was also video of two white construction workers who were in the area, who were working in the area at the time, who saw the incident and said that Mike Brown had his hands up at the time he was gunned down. Now, at the time that Mike Brown was gunned down, he was shot 150 feet away from that cop. Mm-hmm. The kill shot was 100 in the back.
No shots in the back.
No shots in the back. But he was shot 150 feet. He was shot 150 feet away. So I mean, and there was a lot to be made about whether or not there was a scuffle in the car, whether or not Mike Brown was reaching for his gun. There's a lot of different inconsistencies as to what happened in this story. And so I think the fact that there wasn't a trial, and the fact that the district attorney decided that he didn't want to indict Darren Wilson, and the fact that he came out with a press conference and presented the evidence as if he was Darren Wilson's defense attorney as opposed to the prosecuting attorney trying to bring forth charges, the fact that there was no cross-examination of the evidence, the fact that nobody could actually, go through these accounts and cross-examine and figure out the inconsistencies and go through that whole process. That's what pissed people the fuck off. It's like, wait a minute, you're not going to even give this the time to even cross-examine said evidence. And so much has come out about the prosecutor, the DA, Bob McCullough, about his process, about some of the grand jurors that were allowed on the grand jury, about how he determined who was credible and who wasn't, and how he allowed what testimony to be allowed and what wasn't. It was a lot of different things that happened with this trial that leaves a bad taste in everybody's mouths, to the point where we start asking for police body cams and citizen review boards and special prosecutors in the case of police brutality, or police killings when a police is involved in the death of a citizen. So many of these things that can be implemented.
Okay. Now here's the thing though. Here's the thing. All right. Now, whose fault is it that DA has a job? How does that DA get that job?
We can fault those who didn't participate in the political process, those who didn't go out and vote, and those who
voted. He has to vote, as does the Missouri is a state where the DA has to be voted in. I looked it up, and as well as their sheriff or their chief of police. I'm hoping that this will ignite that political, because you guys know I don't vote at the presidential level, but I do believe in voting at a local level because I know that works. Hopefully this will spark interest in the political prowess of the people in that area, because you put him in power. You put that dude in power. This guy represents you. You voted him in, or your lack of voting put him in there. Either way, this was your pick. This was your guy. So again, we don't know what happened with the Mike Brown situation. Okay, but I'm not gonna pretend like this was a dude holding a Bible walking to church with candy for the local children. Okay, this was a guy who just might have done what this cop said. I don't know if this cop is a racist. I don't know. He might be, but there's more evidence that Mike Brown was a thug than there is that Darren Wilson was a racist. The only thing I know about Darren Wilson is his mama was a scam artist. That's all I know.
Well, here's what I would say to that though, bro. Mm-hmm. Whether Mike Brown was a thug or a hood wolf or what have you, the crime that he is said to have committed didn't warrant the sentence in which he got.
Brother, I agree with you 100%. But you know what? Hold on. You know what I tell my son? I say, hey man, don't mess with the criminal life, because you never know what can happen. You can end up dead or in jail. Now, I mean, there's plenty of people who die doing stuff that they had no business doing that shouldn't have warranted death. There was a guy who went hiking on a volcano. He just wanted to take some pictures, say YOLO, but he fell in the volcano. He fell inside the volcano. He wasn't supposed to die, but that's kind of shit is bound. That shit can happen when you try to be a spelunker or whatever they call it. You know what I'm saying? So, all I'm saying is, don't sell. And this is the problem I have with liberal media. Do not sell me this story of a gentle giant. Don't make me act like this was Smokey the Bear stopping forest fires, and then somebody came with a fire, with a blowtorch and blew him up. Don't do that, because this dude was not a gentle giant.
Well, I think leaving this whole thing, getting ready to close out, but it's just like leaving this whole thing. I think the biggest thing for me is consistency in how we analyze these types of things. When it comes to Mike Brown's killer, Darren Wilson. When it comes to Eric Garner's killer, Daniel Panteleo.
Yes.
We become real. These guys. When it comes to the court of public opinion, we go in on these dudes, right? We convict these dudes in the court of public opinion. We look for these stories that validate our preconceived notions as to what's going on with these guys, right? Yeah. But then when we go to Bill Cosby, we kind of want to wait till all the evidence comes out. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So well, what?
I understand what you're saying. But it's okay. When it comes to, I agree with you on the Garner thing. The Garner thing is what we should have been marching for. You know, when it comes to anything. Not that I believe in marching. I think marching. I believe everything that was done is just dumb. The marching and the protests, all just leading to nothingness. They never ever pan out for anything, right? Yeah. But if we were gonna do it, we should have did it for Garner, and we should have did it for that little girl.
Aiyana Jones, shot right here in Detroit. Jones.
That right there broke my heart. I'm gonna tell you right now, when the Mike Brown thing went down, I was like, hey man, you know, you robbing stores and shit. Ain't no telling what else you done did too. That shit kind of shit happens with that lifestyle. I mean, people can say he didn't rob the store. He robbed that store. You know, should he have died for it? No, he should have went to jail for it. But you know, maybe he should have been compliant with the cop too, and then maybe he would have just went to jail for it. I don't know. I can't I'm not gonna sit here and defend him and act like he, you know, I see people putting his picture up next to Emmett Till and Trayvon Martin, two young boys who were murdered for no reason. You know what I'm saying? Who didn't rob shit, didn't do shit, did none of that. You know what I'm saying? So we should have went for Garner and we should have went for Aiyana. You know, yeah. But you know that's people are picking this to be the flagship thing that we march and stop freeway flow for. It's crazy.
Yeah, man. But it was good having this topic, you know, this discussion with you, man. The art of disagreement, because we still don't agree.
That's it. And you know what? And this is what, you know, I don't know how many people are listening in right now, how many people are going to end up listening to this, but I think it's very important that especially young men of color understand that you can disagree about some rather controversial or passionate topics and still walk away from that without feeling a certain kind of way. Because, look, we don't agree on nothing we talked about today, but this is still my brother. I'm still going to call him tomorrow and ask about his daughter. He's going to do the same. And that's what it is. And we need to, whether you're in the barbershop, whether you're on the phone, whether you're on the internet, we need to be able to hash these topics out respectively.
Indeed. So here's what we're gonna do. I got a couple questions here over on the side here. Is Ace of Spades. Ace of Spades will hit us with a few up. The first one is, can you do more Bill Cosby impressions, please?
Well, you know, I've never been good. No, I can't.
Yeah. All right, and the second one he left was he left an article from the New York Post. It's New York. You know what? He left the article for you that you alluded to before about the New York cops being shot execution style in Brooklyn.
Yeah, that's just crazy, man.
Yeah, he left that article, so I'm gonna definitely check that out, and I appreciate you, Ace of Spades, for leaving that here in the chat, man. But we gotta get out of here. Get out of here, man. I appreciate my brother Hater coming through here and blessing the Spann Report with his presence, man. Go ahead and tell the folks how they can get in touch with you, man.
Check me out at Haterazzi.com, spelled just like paparazzi, just with a hater. Everything, Twitter, Instagram, Vine, YouTube. Just type in Haterazzi. You're going to get some comedy. You're going to get some realness. I can't promise you that you're going to like everything you hear, but you're going to have to deal with it. Can you dig it? I want to thank my brother for having me on. I want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, all that good stuff. And, you know, let's rock into the future. And let's stop marching, because marching does not work. All right, and if you're going to do a boycott, it has to be a concerted effort, and the boycott must stand until they fold to what you want.
Indeed. That's one of the biggest things about boycotts. It's got to be sustained. If you can't do it for one day, you can't target it for one day. You got to sustain that effort in order for them to feel it. So if you're going to do a boycott, do that shit consistently. And that's the biggest thing for me, consistency, man. But before I get out of here, man, of course, got to let you guys know you can hit me up at that hotline at area code 313 288-0485. Leave those voicemails, and I'll play those voicemails here on the show and respond to those here on the show. You can hit me up at feedback@thespanreport.com. Leave those emails. If you got anything you want to talk to me about on the email, I'll read those, of course, and play those here on the show. You can also chop it up with your boy on Twitter and Instagram. My name on both platforms, of course, is Mr._Spann. And, of course, go to the website, support the website. Everything you need Spann Report related is on the website. You can listen to this podcast directly from the website. You can watch this podcast directly from the website. And you can check out every guest appearances I've made. And everything is available right there at thespanreport.com. But, yeah, man, got to get out of here. I appreciate my brother Hater for coming on, and I'll talk to you guys again later. So until next time, fam, peace.
Peace.